Alrighty, welcome back to another edition of the PA High School Football Report. I'm Eric Epler, PennLive, alongside Dan Sostek here in our new multi-million-dollar studio.
Oh, yeah. A lot of money has been poured into this.
I mean, the background...
Just for the high school football report, though.
Superior noise bounce off of these felt things. I'm not sure why we went blue and black, but we did bring a couple helmets. We got a couple more helmets off to the side.
Yeah, we'll shift them in and out every week.
Exactly. We'll do a little shift up here.
And as we've always said, if you have helmets and you want to be on our video feed, just come by 1900 Patriot and drop them off.
Just drop it off.
Yep.
Drop it off.
Literally.
Listen, we're tempted to take them home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Put them on, play around with the dog, and we don't do that. They're only for studio use.
Yeah.
But we certainly would like to promote the teams. That's what we do here.
My head won't fit them in anyway. So.
Well, not the I think this one fits me.
Yeah.
There's a Steel High helmet over there. That's like a junior high program helmet. So that will not fit. And the old school Cumberland Valley one, we have two Cumberland Valleys. This is the new one. That older one is from it looks like it's from the 70s.
Yeah.
It's cool nonetheless. That was my face mask, Dan.
That looks like
when I played.
Really?
Yeah.
That's your face mask.
That's my face mask.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at all those dents on it.
There's a lot of dents. People used to just dent me up left and right, drive me into the dirt at the old rock pile.
That explains a lot.
There you go. See the dents?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's it right there.
Who'd you hit with that one? Who'd you get?
Well, it's not so much I hit. They hit me. It seemed to be a good target for them. Yeah.
Well, that
plus it's the old rock pile, McDevitt Field. So there's all kind of like dead, worms and stuff in there, and
there's probably some microbiome,
dragon bones. You know what I mean? We have to get those through. So, all right, buddy. Hey, hard to believe, but we are dashing into week 3 here of the regular season. Before we get to a couple games that we got to cover over the weekend, some really good football games. I think both of us saw 3 good games.
Yep.
But you were not here Saturday.
Yeah.
You checked off. I'm guessing it's a bucket list item, which is pretty cool because you're only 18, 19 now.
Yeah, did 30
years old.
I'm a 30-year-old. I'm old now. So
Okay. Well, you checked off a box.
Yeah.
You saw the King. You saw Bruce down in Washington. A, how was it? B, how much do you remember? And C, I'm glad you made it home Sunday at some point.
Well, yeah. I mean, first off, we had me and my friends went to local Pitt bar to watch.
Oh, sweet.
Because a couple Pitt grads went to watch Pitt come back from 21 points down to beat Cincinnati.
Exactly. Good.
River City rivalry, one of those old rivalry games is coming back, so that was fun. So that kind of helped move things along, and then we get down to the Navy Yard where the Nats play, and my friend who's a Nationals fan is like, I haven't seen it this crowded down here since they were in the playoffs. Since Juan Soto was there. So I mean, the fact that he's a 70-year-old guy still can pack stadiums like that, play for 3 hours, pretty much every song everyone's singing along. He seemed to have more energy than me by the end of it. So it was pretty awesome, and you never know when your last chance is to see guys like that. So figured I bought these tickets actually a year ago. Then he had an ulcer and canceled it, so it was a year long wait, but it was definitely worth it. And also was helped by the fact that I was basically covering a game in Maryland on Friday night, so I could just go straight down. So.
You were approximately 2.8 miles from the Maryland border on Friday night. Let's jump to that game.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Waynesboro at Shippensburg. Waynesboro, of course, 2 strong efforts to start the season, and they walk into 2-0 Shippensburg at maybe the most confusing home venue that I've seen. I'm telling you that. First of all, the width of the field is not correct.
Yeah.
And I know your perception is off because there's only stands on one side.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Memorial here.
No, it was at Waynesboro.
Oh, was that Waynesboro?
Yeah, it was at
Waynesboro.
Then
never mind.
Yeah.
Then never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good. I like
that's
Waynesboro.
why it was that close to Maryland.
Yes, you're even closer. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So those Franklin County games are always tight. Those guys have it's because I worked there for 4 years down to Public Opinion, and those Shippensburg Waynesboro games are always kind of real drag them out because they kind of play similar stuff. Like when both those programs are operating the way they want to, they're running the ball 25, 30 times a game and winning with I mean, we would always joke right about the Waynesboro stats on defense, how many tackles they have, and it's because they play that physical style of defense.
Yeah.
But it was a back and forth game. Waynesboro led early. Shippensburg came back, a really big game. It was one of those games, Janai Stadium, their bell cow back. He had 170 rushing yards, but every time he would drive down, he would get most of the most of the rushing yards to get them down in the red zone. And then Mark Carruthers Jr. or Brady Majewski would vulture him a little bit. So if you were a fantasy owner of Janai Stadium, you're probably a little frustrated, but I think you'll still take the 170 yards. And I mean, it's been well documented what's been going on with the Shippensburg program.
Yeah.
And I was talking with Coach Eric Faust afterwards, and I said, after that emotional week one, and he said, well, it's been an emotional 3 weeks for us. It doesn't just stop because you play one football game. And we're going to talk about them a little later because what we're talking about on this podcast. But for them to be 3-0 with a bunch of really hard fought games, especially the last couple of weeks, that's really impressive. And the Waynesboro team impressed me too. I mean, I really like the Nolan siblings there, Hayden Nolan and Nathan Nolan. Really gave it their all. And their quarterback, Frazier Hewitt, is a nice little mobile. He's got a little wiggle to his game.
He's got some shake, absolutely.
Yeah. And the defense, I think what happened was what Shippensburg under Eric Faust, what they do a lot is you have them bottled up early in the game and they just wear you down with that physicality on both sides. And a credit to them because I don't think that this is the teams you see in the past, like the teams with Carter Van Sciac teams the ones that upset Bishop McDevitt, the ones with Anthony Smith. I don't think they have that size and physicality necessarily because I think they're a little younger in some of those positions, but they're still playing with that same kind of mindset, and they're really so that was a fun drag 'em out game that came down to the last few possessions. So got to see a good one.
Yeah, I think we saw two pretty good coaches too. I mean, I don't think those guys get a lot of credit because they're located in Virginia. You know what I mean? They're way down south.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Mid-Penn sort of that 30-mile radius of Mid-Penn that you pretty much know everything about. You know every head coach.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Eric Faust and I don't think Josh Sprinkle get enough credit.
Well, it's Mark Saunders now.
Oh, Saunders. Mark Saunders.
Yeah,
for coming back and Saunders used to coach Chambersburg.
Yeah, they all come.
And he's a great guy. He's a great motivator. And I just think both those guys do a really good job, and maybe they don't get the credit that they deserve.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was at CD East and witnessed the unveil.
That seemed like a crazy one from afar.
It was a little bit chaotic.
Yeah.
Not so much that it was sloppy, but obviously there were a lot of lead changes.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of big plays. I give Cedar Cliff a lot of credit to kind of that final drive to make it down there to score, and obviously a missed extra point cost them in a 28-27 game. But they're A-okay. They're fine. They made some mistakes, obviously, yes. They could have won this game, yes. But on the flip side, you have a CD East team that's very talented. We say this a lot about we have said it a lot about CD East in the past 4 to 5 seasons. Landstein is never devoid of talent. Whether it's shows up or he cultivates it and gets the guys ready, that's always the case. The case has always been a consistency against teams that have similar or maybe even superior talent.
Because last year, right, we saw it against Harrisburg, right, that they played up to the competition of one of the best teams in the state and looked right on par with them.
Yeah, and the guy who torched Harrisburg's defense was not on the field Friday.
Yep.
And Jared Porter, their all-state caliber running back, who's remained in a boot.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure it was his time frame.
Yeah.
I know he's been out a couple weeks now. Yeah. So, playing without them. But again, I think this really came down to, Leon Parson has been really, really good.
Yeah.
The running back for CD East.
I think he's a McDevitt transfer, I believe.
Yes, and he does not mince around with the ball. He gets it, hits the hole really, really hard. He had a couple tremendous runs up the middle where the blocking was just really, really good. So I give credit to the offensive line too. But two very talented teams. CD East we'll talk about here in a little bit too, and some of the other players involved in getting off to 3-0 start. But really a fun football game to watch. A little bit long, but that happens. There were a lot of penalties, and there was some ticky tack things going on too. And it was one of those TV games too, where it's just annoying.
The extra delays.
It's annoying.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then Saturday, of course, I got a chance to to return to Severance Field and see a really, really big defensive struggle with State College in town to play the Cougars. This one came down really to a blocked field goal. Elias Koch was stuck in the middle, and I asked him after the game. It was really a chip shot for Shane Markowski, the kicker for State College, who had hit 2 short field goals earlier in the game. 7-6 final for Harrisburg. Koch set up in the middle and just broke through, kind of swam to his left, got through, and it looked on the video. I had a video of it. It looked like he actually got both paws on the ball.
Would not surprise me.
Yeah, and I asked him, I'm like, do you always set up in the middle? And he's like, no, we just noticed that was sort of where we thought we could get the biggest push. And those who know Elias Koch knows he can leap out of building.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of the best receivers in the state, in the 2026 class. So, again, another good solid effort from Jan Lewis, but State College made him work. And then really the last drive to get them down to set up for the field goal, for the potential game-winning field goal, Michael Gall ran the ball 13 times.
Wow.
In 17 plays. The last 12 plays were Michael Gall blasts, and it was just 4 yards, 6 yards, boom. And they really leaned on him. He had a tremendous game. Couple other guys for the Lions had tremendous games too. But the point is, Harrisburg got the W. State College is going to be just fine. I kind of had to figure on what to do with them rankings wise in 6A. They got a little bit of demotion because they lost, but it wasn't very far. So that was my weekend. Probably not as good as your Saturday.
Yeah.
But it was all right. The rain was a little bit of a nuisance Saturday, but not too bad.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what we want to continue to do here, Dan, for the rest of the way here is talk about our 3-0 teams in Mid-Penn.
It's not the group.
It is not what you might expect,
No.
or what we are used to seeing. I think, even though Game 2 was against Harrisburg, I think most thought Bishop McDevitt at this point would be 3-0.
Yep.
That did not happen.
Yep.
But there were a couple other players here. So let's start in 6A. Just got done talking about CD East. They're our last unbeaten in 6A.
And, I mean, they're sitting at number 2 in the 6A power rank. There are only 3 unbeaten teams left in 6A and District 3. It's Manheim Township, who's just looked awesome so far. What a job by Mark Evans losing so much of that, that attack. And basically just telling Declan Clancy, all right, your turn.
Go.
Go. We're giving you the ball. So great job there. And then Dallastown, who's been a kind of a surprise. They've produced some individual talent, right? Right. I've seen it as a Pitt grad with Kenny Johnson been a tremendous player in college so far, and then Michael Scott, their current star. Joystick, we were just saying how great of a nickname that is.
Exactly, it's a great nickname.
They're 3-0. They just won 35-0 over Manheim Central, so and also have a 28-9 win over Hempfield, which is no slouch either. So those are two good. But CD East, man, I think is the team that, as we said, we've always known that this is in that program. Right?
It's a consistency thing.
Yeah,
it really is, and even in the post game, that's what Lance Dean was telling me. He goes, listen, everybody's still going to doubt you because they're going to say, you didn't play anybody yet.
Yeah.
Well, I saw Cedar could play and give them a whirl. That's not true, obviously. Yeah. But yes, some harder matches are coming up. But you can only play who's in front of you.
Yeah.
And they've done really, really well without one of their hammers.
And if you look at their schedule, they're you never want to overlook any teams, but I'd be very surprised if they're not 5-0 heading into that Week 6 game at home against Cumberland Valley, which is going to be a marquee game because I don't think we've seen – Cumberland Valley is a team that's kind of been hard to gauge so far this year. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of interested to see that game, but I think the key story you kind of touched on a little bit is if you told me CDS is going to be 3-0, I don't care what their schedule was. If you told me they're going to be 3-0 without Jared Porter, I would have been very surprised just because that I just didn't know what else there was going to be because – so much of their offense revolved around Porter, and we talked about him last week. Samaj Dal has just been awesome for
Right.
him. He's just been awesome. Santana Young has been such an addition to that team. Such a big addition. I think I remember his freshman year, Jordan Hill was telling me he was a kid as a freshman at Trinity, was going to be someone that could make an impact. And then I remembered the name because it's kind of a cool name, Santana. I like
Right.
you think of Carlos Santana, you think of all that stuff. But he didn't really kind of emerge that first year. And then I didn't realize his second and third years at Trinity, it never kind of registered with me. Oh, Tanny Young is Santana.
It's Tanny Young, yeah.
So he goes by Tanny, but he's had the best start of his to his career thus far. Just been a real huge addition to that team, and I've also always said I think that Zach Brown's. I know he has Division I offers. I still don't think that kid gets the credit he deserves for being one of the best linebackers if not the state, definitely in the district. He flies around everywhere.
Yeah, Jala's a guy too we talked a lot about in the preseason. Obviously, the first couple weeks. Just I think his leadership is night and day from 2 years ago.
Yep.
Like I really believe he's a guy you can turn to in the huddle and just you're like, okay, this guy will take care of it. You get that sense of confidence. It's not cockiness. There's just a confident way about him right now. Mm-hmm. And again, everybody seems confident when you're winning and things like that. But he's handled a very close game. Just like a leader, mm-hmm. and that's exactly what you want from a guy under center. Again, without Jared Porter. But you're right, Tanny Young. I'll have a little something extra on Tanny Young on Wednesday on PennLive about him obviously fitting right in to the new squad. He was at Trinity, like you mentioned, and he just gives you. First of all, he's not a 1 or 2 route guy.
No.
He's not a guy you're just going to go, okay, go, because he has the speed. He runs across the middle. His routes are really, really sharp and really good, and he has a really good rapport with Jala in what essentially – now, I know there's off-season work that to kind of get to that point in 7-on-7s and things like that, but, in a span of 3 weeks, when it counts, that connection has been really, really good. I think we've only seen – I think you could probably count on one hand how strong a quarterback to wideout, whether it was expected or not, is that good at this point. I mean, I think you could probably say, Eddie Corkery, State College to Ty Salazar, I'm sorry. And then, maybe a Josh Smith,
Eli Rider.
From Eli Rider.
Yeah.
Those kind of connections. I don't think there's many out there. That's as strong right now to Jala to Young. So that says a lot about what those two guys have done. So great start for CD East. The last Mid-Penn unbeaten in 6A, which is saying a lot at this point. So let's move down to 5A.
Let's go to the Bergs.
We just mentioned Josh Smith and Eli Rider from Mechanicsburg. They are 3-0 and look very, very strong at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think we started seeing, Josh Smith's football kind of profile emerge with offers from a lot of the Ivy League schools, right? Mm-hmm. And you see why he can just go up and get it. He's a really athletic kid. I've said it before. One of my favorite basketball players to cover. That kid covering Mechanicsburg basketball last year's as a sophomore 2 years ago. Goes up to North Hills against Pittsburgh in the state championship first round, going against Royce Parr. Their team didn't have a kid above 6'4", 6'3", 6'4". North Hills has Royce Parham, a 6'9" power forward, going to Marquette. They go into North Hills and beat them with 3 sophomores at their core. And Josh Smith's the head of that snake, along with Chanceyowski and Justin Bardo, who also plays on the football team, Justin Bardo. But it's weird you start with the receiver, but just knowing the type of kid Josh Smith is, I know that kid's, the leader of the the leader of that team. He's that type of personality. He's that type of magnetic personality. It's just if you're going to get him in a program, he's going to help you win. He will go up and get the ball. He's shown off his big playability. I think they're giving the ball as a runner too. But Eli Rider's development has been huge, right? Because we kind of saw it a little bit towards the end of last year, but he's looked like a guy that has that year under his belt as a starter. We've seen it with other guys like Torrin Evans, Susquehanna Township. You just see after you've had a year playing quarterback, everything slows down a little bit. You start knowing where to go. You start knowing the reads. And it's just been an awesome start to them. I think Colin Stair is also a pretty good player for them at defensive tackle. Dave Heckard's first year, it's a pretty good start for the
I think so,
former wrestling coach. I think maybe other programs are going to start seeing that as a market inefficiency to start looking for start promoting their wrestling coaches to football coaches. So
that might be true.
Yeah,
you never know. Yeah, Mechanicsburg, you're dead on about Josh Smith. I mean, the kid's just a winner. I think, and anytime you can get
it's a full court shot in the District 3 championship game. Like I mean, it's just the type of kid that he is. So it doesn't surprise me that they're off to that hot start.
No, not at all. All right, back to Franklin County. Your game.
Yep.
Shippensburg. You got a up close and personal look at the Greyhounds. Tell me what you like of there.
I mean, everyone's saying they are playing behind Brady Maszewski after, the unspeakable tragedy of his brother's passing, and you can see it right there. There's never really any quit in that group, and we talked about they know the formula, right? It's not like Brady's going to drop back and throw the ball 30 times a game, but they have a stable of backs, and Brady had a couple real nice QB keepers. He scored rushed for 2 touchdowns, had a 2-point conversion. They know what to do in the goal. That's always been something I've felt about Shippensburg, that they really know what to do in that red area. That when they get close, when they get within 10 yards, they used to have a diesel closer at fullback that made things easier. They don't have diesel anymore, but they execute on their chances deep down. And, they shorten the game up and they execute in the big moments. And I felt that there have been years recently where I thought Shippensburg was better than their record was. This year, I think they're playing greater than the sum of their parts right now. And three pretty solid wins. A win over Hershey, who I believe is 2-1. Hershey's 2-1, and Waynesboro is 2-1 as well. So 2 pretty solid wins for the Greyhounds, and we'll see if they can keep it going. I know that they've. Obviously, you always have to double check to make sure you're in the right division now.
It's been a little tricky.
Yeah, but I'd say their tough games coming up are going to be Lower Dauphin, Gettysburg, and Mechanicsburg. So you got the season finale Mechanicsburg, which could decide a division title.
You would think it might.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I've always enjoyed watching Shippensburg play because I'm a guy that I don't mind a muddy field, and I don't mean that obviously with just a wet field. I mean, they make it difficult, and sometimes the play looks staggered, and sometimes it just doesn't look like a pretty brand of football, but it's effective.
Yeah,
and that's what I appreciate most about Shippensburg is they're going to show up, they're going to give you their best no matter what's happening, and more times than not, Faust is going to come up with a game plan that's going to keep them in the game even against superior talent.
Yep.
So that much I enjoy about it for sure. All right, let's move down to Class 4A. We got 2 to talk about. West Perry, we'll start there. I think you have to start with a guy named Brad Hockenberry.
Yeah, you can't.
West Perry, because we had talked all off season is what is Coach Bowden going to do? Because Marcus Quaker's gone, who seemed like he had 9,000 yards this season combined. And then, of course, Ian Goodling, their jack of all trades, wideout, D-back, kicker, punter, you name it. Ian Goodling did it. Those 2 guys graduated and moved on to college. So, what was left of West Perry?
Another big loss to Caleb Gutschall, who they lost him. He got hurt in the playoffs last year. I thought that loss also really impacted that team.
Yep.
And you're right. I mean, Bob Bowden's a former coach of the year, and it wasn't when we were kind of skeptical. It wasn't we're worried Bob's gonna. It was just that was a lot of talent and a lot of winners that they lost. But I think what you're kind of seeing now is that group kind of left a little bit of an imprint on the program. Right?
I agree, yeah.
We talked about it with him last year that they had bigger numbers at tryouts than they had ever had before. That group had kind of reinvigorated West Perry football. And when you get a community like that fired up to play football, and you get pretty much everyone coming to tryouts, right? And everyone's just dying to play for that football team. I think these are the kind of results you get. And then also having a guy like Brad Hockenberry, who I don't think he has an offer yet. I could be mistaken. I don't think he has an offer. He looks like a college football player to me.
I think so, yeah.
And I know Brian Linder wrote a story about him. Just just a sensational start to the year. So always happy to see that program do well. Bob's just a really good person and a good guy, a great guy to deal with, and that I know how much that community cares about that program. It's something that you don't always see, and you kind of get in those smaller communities. You kind of see it a little more, but just a really awesome start to the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other one in 4A is we talk about this team a lot because it's so explosive and because obviously the notoriety and the billboard sort of that Lex Cyrus has created there. South Carolina recruited wide out. Susquehanna Township, an unbelievably fast and explosive 3-0 start.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with Lex, but I really think that Torrin Evans is the reason they're 3-0. Not like I just think that is the guy that they needed to step up and be that all area quarterback, and he has been that. I think another 5 touchdowns, taking advantage because it doesn't matter what wide receivers you have if the quarterback can't get them the ball.
Right.
And that's a simple way to put it, but it's true. And we've seen it in the past. We see with teams before, and Jarrett Kern's been a guy that I feel like we'd say he goes under the radar enough that he might not be going under the radar anymore.
He's not under the radar here.
Yeah. He's an awesome player too. Zykeer Leaks has really emerged as well. They've figured out the stable of weapons. We got a huge game this week at West Perry. That's gonna be a fun one. So one of the O's got to go.
Right, one of the O's got to go. Yeah, I mentioned to their OC Doug Addix. I said, listen, so far you've won assistant coach of the week for the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Now we don't name an assistant coach of the week, but if we did,
in our heads,
we would because it's been that strong. But you're right. I mean, yes, the schedule's going to go up, but I was a little worried coming off that really tough, sort of grinded out win against Penn Hills in the opener down at that York thing, that takes forever. But anyway, that's another story. Someday I'm going to just write a column on that. But anyway, that was a really hard fought win for them. They had to score late to take out Penn Hills, but Greencastle obviously didn't offer much resistance in week 2, and then they come back with a big win in week 3 against Boiling Springs. It really is outmanned right now, sort of in rebuilding mode. So I don't know how potent the numbers right now look great.
Yep.
But I don't know truly how potent this offense is, or when they're
they'll get a good test this week.
Yeah,
I think.
this should be a good starter for them.
Yeah, and that Penn Hills team only lost 18-14 to North Allegheny.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So it's probably good they got them in week 1 when they weren't quite ready.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. So one more 3-0 team to talk about, and this is, again, I don't know if in my career that I've ever seen this team 3-0.
Yeah.
At this point. It is the James Buchanan Rockets.
Yeah.
And I'm thrilled for them.
Yeah.
I really am because, for umpteen years, they've taken lump after lump after lump. And to start 3-0, they are right now ranked 1 in the power ratings.
That's incredible.
Which I've never seen that
Well,
either.
I mean, they had they at one point, I think they had some – I remember writing about it when I was back there. I think it was something in the – it was a multiple season losing streak. I think it was in the 30s. So, it's really tough for that program to get numbers there. They're just not that big of a school. I mean, it's an okay sized school, but it's hard to get the sufficient numbers to field a competitive football team, especially in the Mid-Penn where they've been playing the Colonial they're going against guys like Anthony Smith when they've got 23.
Yeah,
kids.
It's a size thing more than anything. I think up front
because they've had a couple athletes, but. And you can nitpick the schedule all you want, but they're 3-0, which is something that is tough for them to come by. And they've got some good running backs. I know Hunter Egley's a guy that they pointed out. Christian Pine, who I believe is I'm guessing I don't have it confirmed, but I assume he's Cliff Pine, the head coach's son. No stoners on the team, which I think they usually see.
Right, there's usually a couple stoners.
Yeah,
right?
But just really good for them because. Again, whenever you see a program like that hasn't won in a while, start 3-0. My high school was never that good, so whenever we started 3-0, it always kind of started building a little buzz in the halls. So happy for them in Mercersburg.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, this, like I said, this is a program that's really taken its lumps, and to start 3-0 and be, I mean, not for nothing, but a couple weeks, if you're sitting there 4-1, 5-1,
You're almost in.
you're in the you're in the conversation for the postseason.
Yeah.
And I didn't look back to see the last time they made districts.
Yeah.
I don't know when it would have been. I
Yeah.
don't think it's in my tenure.
No, I don't.
Which
think so.
is long.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. So congrats to those guys. We wish them the best.
Well, they
Keep it
left the
rolling.
Mid-Penn for a while too. So.
Yeah, they were just back, and then I'm not sure when they came back.
It was
I'd
a
have
couple
to look.
years ago.
I'd have to look,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's been a really impressive run for them. So those are the 3-0 squads we've got so far. What is it? 6?
Yeah, 6, I believe. So.
6. We got 2. Yeah. So yeah, and obviously we'll probably be down to 4.
Yeah.
I think
Just based on
matchups coming into mid-season, the week 5.
Yeah.
So lots to talk about. We appreciate you joining us as always. For Dan Sostek, I'm Eric Epler. Get out there and watch some football. It matters. Putting butts in the seats matters to these schools and obviously to the players and cheerleaders and band members and all those people who make Friday nights really, really special. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.